Alright, this is a 2009 Chevy Equinox. I'm going to change the passenger side front wheel bearing out. First things first, got to get the car up and got to take the tire off. That'll be an 18 mil socket. Okay, tire is off. Working in mud, I highly do not recommend it. The vehicle is over dirt at least, and I put a jack stand in. Actually, I got to settle this down on the jack stand. See if I can do that without dropping it. Hold on. Okay, the vehicle is on partially on the jack stand and on the jack itself. I sprayed a little bit of penetrant on this. Oh, that looks like that's going to be a pain too. I'll spray a little penetrant there too. That is a 36 mil bolt or nut. I'm going to take the nut off as far as I can. And most people say, you know, don't do this yet. But the reason I'm doing that is because I'm going to take this nut off and I'm going to spray everything down with, well, not everything. I'm going to try not to spray the actual brakes down with it. But I'm going to spray behind here. And I'll spray this with some penetrant. And I'm going to let it sit for a while. Then I'll come back. And then I'll start taking some other things off. The reason I'm doing that is because you have to actually push this axle, which goes up there. You have to actually push it back and through to get it out of the actual wheel bearing, which is like a wheel bearing unit, which is actually a lot nicer to work on. So let me back that off and let me see if I can get it all the way off, and so I could get some spray behind it. Okay, the nut's off. It's a nice 36 mil nut in there. Just gonna soak it down. I don't know if that's really gonna do much for that. Let's see. Hopefully the axle will feel a little bit of this. And just so I don't lose it, I'll recap it for now. All right. Actually, I'll leave it like that because when we come back later, I'm probably going to hit on both the axle stub and the nut itself. Just so you can see how big the, holy cow. That's a big old 36 mil. I should clean that off. Okay, now it's time for a coffee break, and then when I come back, I will show you how to get the rest of it off. Okay, so it's been soaking a little while. Got very lucky with the T30 back here, so this will allow me to get the disc off later. Sorry for all the background noise. Now a 14 mil. I'm going to take these two off here and down here, and then we'll be able to hang the brakes up here. We'll hang them probably off one of these springs. Don't want to let them pull too much on the rubber cable, because otherwise it's going to crack. So we get those out of the way, and then we'll get this plug right here. That is one of the plugs for your, so that's the ABS sensor that's built into the wheel bearing itself. Once we get these out, be able to pop the brakes off. Just like that. I might get a hanger or something for those. Actually hang them back here. Take the brakes, the pads out. These actually don't look half bad. Probably clean them up. I mean, if yours are, oh, see they're nice and loose there. And then the next thing we need to do is actually take the cage itself that holds the brake assembly in place off. So that will be, I believe that is 2. Yep, back here that's going to be 2 bolts. I'll get those bolt sizes for you next. All right, 2 giant 18 mil end bolts, and this cage is off, which means this comes right off. You might have to actually give that a couple of whacks with a hammer to get that off. And you can see from here, this backing plate actually has bolts coming through it. You can see one up here. There are 3 of them, and those actually hold the wheel bearing in place. This is the edge of the wheel bearing, and there's the wheel sensor right there, which is actually part of the wheel bearing, and those all come out in one spot, one piece. But first, I think, I gotta double check, I think at first we're going to have to, that's crunchy, we're gonna have to loosen the axle. There's some give on that axle back and forth, so it's gonna have to be yeah, it's gonna have to be pushed in to get it to come out. So I got to get something big that we can use to hammer this with. I want to try to make this nut a little more flush, but I've got a couple of different things I could try to whack it in and get busted loose. That's why I put the penetrant fluid in there before. Okay, I just gave it a couple of whacks before I started this up. I can't believe it, but it was actually moving a little bit. Watch this. That's nice and free. Looks like it's nice and free at least. So I could take this off, and next, let's give it a little bit of a whack. Yeah, that's good. See, my fear is actually just mushrooming the end of this and not being able to get the this back on. So I'm gonna leave this on for now just so I don't lose it. Next, I'll get those 3 bolts in the back, and after that, then we start whacking on that to get that bearing assembly off. All right, so I got all 3 bolts out of the back. These are all 15 mil ends, and these were quite a pain to get to. You might have to move the axle back and forth because the rubber boot might be up against where your socket lies. But the next thing to do is to just start hammering this thing to get this wheel bearing hub out. Our axle's free, which is good, so that's not going to hold us up. It's just these 2 different types of metal, and this is actually sleeved into this aluminum part here. I'll leave that on just to protect the threads, just in case. This back plate is getting loose, that's good. And you can see that there's a little bit of movement in here. That's it, all out. So you can see all this down in here. That all needs to be cleaned, but basically we're uninstalled. Also, I put a hook on a strap on the brakes just to make sure that they don't fall and stretch out that cable. Next step is to take a wire brush and just clean out all around through here. I'm going to do that and try, you know what, I might put tape over that just to try to keep the dust and crud to a minimum. I am going to have to clean it off later before we put everything back together, but that's that. The only thing you will be reusing from here is this shield. So if you did smash up the shield a little bit, well, it doesn't look that bad, you're going to want to straighten it out and remember which way it goes. It actually will really only go one way because of this this mount for the wheel speed sensor or ABS sensor, whatever that is. Okay, we'll get some tape, tape that up, and then we'll clean it off and get it prepared for the new unit. Okay, so everything got a good rough out. Most of the junk's gone. So now what I'm going to do a little bit of anti-seize on this surface and this surface here, anti-seize lubricant. So this is a, yeah, if you've never messed with this stuff, this is nasty. This one can is a lifetime supply pretty much, unless you're a mechanic. A little bit goes a long way, and once you get some on yourself, it is all over you. And this is coming from a guy who's knee deep in mud while I'm doing this work. So just so you know, you don't have to like kill it. Look, just screwing the cap on, that's what that did. So actually what I'm gonna do, I've done this before, there's actually, saw someone else do it. I can't take complete, I can't say this is my own idea, but then take a glove off, do that so you don't get it all over yourself later. Now, when you go to put that away, it'll be a little bit easier. Now the next step, make sure everything looks nice and clean. Oh wait, you know what? I think I'm supposed to put some anti-seize on that as well. Well, guess I'm getting it on myself. No way around that. I don't know how well it's going to mix with the, that was a lot. I don't know how well it's going to mix with the lubricant. See, boom, everywhere. All right. So I did take the new unit and I did connect it and set it up on the pad, and I want to kind of line up where my bolts are going to go before I do this. So I want to make sure that I'm in the right spot for my axle. I think I'm off by like 1 tooth there. Let's see. Feels like it's starting to go in. I have to clean that a little bit more. I'll start putting these studs in from the back and cinching them down and seeing if it hopefully brings everything together. Now it's off by 1 there. Going a little better now. Huh, can't quite seem to get it lined up just right. Really don't want to do that too much. I think I'm supposed to thread lock these. Yeah, but that's okay. That'll be fine. They're torqued down pretty hard. Should probably thread lock these. All right. Now I'm going to line these all up, get them all in place. I'll find the torque spec for them. I'll torque them all down, and actually just make sure nothing falls out. I'll drop that on here. This has got a torque spec to it too, of course. We'll get to that later. So let me get these all in place, and when I bring you back, I'll let you know what the torque spec are for these. Okay, so those 3 bolts in the back, I torqued them kind of, well, I tightened them by hand first, and I torqued them down to 96 foot-pounds. That's what I found online. This one's going to go down to 157. Seems a bit high, but let me get that. And actually, before I do that, before I forget, I'll plug in my clip over here. There we go. We're connected and ready to go now. So let me torque this one down, 157, and then we'll start reassembly of the brakes next. Okay, so 36 mil on this one. I don't like that. Hope I'm not messing up the threads. Let's see. Weak battery, that's the problem. All right, so that one's going to be down to 156, 157 foot-pounds, but it's a 36 millimeter. So I will go through, tighten it up. I've got an old school setup here because my regular one is broken, but I will get that torqued down, then we'll get to the next ones. All right, that's torqued down. A little winded. I do have my little set nut here, set bolt there, so I am going to line this up. There we go. Ooh, that got me nervous there for a minute. And I'm going to put this little T30 back into place. If you're redoing your brakes, now's a good time to do it, of course. You're going to have everything off, but in this case, there's nothing wrong with these, so. You don't need to kill that. I don't even know what the torque spec is for that. I don't think it's anything. I am up against the dust shield. A second. There we go. Now I'm not up against the dust shield. Next thing to come in is the brake. I don't know what this is called. The brake cage, whatever it's called. That goes back in. Same place it was in before. And we got two really big bolts for those. I will look up the specs on these, but basically, I think these are like in the 80s. But let me get them started, and then I'll tell you in a few what these are supposed to be torqued down to. Okay, so those are torqued down to 136. Next thing is take put the brake pads back on, and once I can get this off, I'll put the caliper back on. It's the brake bracket 136 for those two. Oh no. There we go. I was going to have to cut that. There we go. These I think are 40 something. I'll have to look it up and tell you. Just a moment. Just get the right socket size. 14 mil. Let me get you the torque spec on those and this is just what I could find. Might be different for your car depending on your year and depending on what your make and model or your exact model is. Okay, torque those down to 20 foot-pounds. Next thing is, and the last thing, tire goes on. I'm going to put a little anti-seize on all the bolts, and then I will torque that down. Snug it down, then torque them down. It's 100 foot-pounds from what I can find. Check for your application, and that's basically it. And then we take it out for a test drive. Okay, I finished up the test drive, and it sounds good when I'm turning it back and forth and driving. I'm not getting any noises while the car's moving. I do still, however, have some noise from the engine itself, and it sounds like it's either the water pump or the alternator. Here, listen to this one. Sounds good, doesn't it? Actually, it really sounds like the water pump's almost dry or something. I don't know. Yeah, it definitely sounds like it. When I checked it out, it sounds and feels like the water pump. But thank you for watching. Check out my other videos and watch for upcoming videos for the water pump and the alternator on this car. Pretty interesting one, this one. You got to actually take one of the engine mounts out to get the serpentine belt off, to get the alternator out and everything else. So should be fun. Should be a fun one. But thanks very much for watching. Please like and subscribe and all that other fun stuff, and check out my other videos. Thanks very much. Have a good day.